So we're at 4Q. Doot, doot, doot.
I saw James joining earlier, and then when we asked you, Michael wanted to do your game, but you weren't there.
Um, I don't like this move, but I'm not going to nitpick too much. It just lets you get an approach, but it's whatever. Okay, okay, okay. Um, Simple, I guess. I prefer the bottom side, and also, is the top left finished? I don't know if it is, because it feels like you still don't have a base. Like here or here. Feels It feels like there should be a follow up. And this doesn't feel like super urgent. Also, if you're going to pressure this side, you would pressure it here, one space away. So that way you can poke and peep and everything else. And if you're just going to play a big move, if you're not playing defense, you're not playing offense, but you're going to play a big move, then there's no open corners. So you have an open side, which is the bottom. So you can enclose or you can approach, I think would be good. So I would say,
Sort of what I was aiming for with the large knife move to make an enclosure. You know?
oh, here,
Yeah.
this is still invadable.
Well, I know that. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I just thought it was.
I still think the direction should probably be done here, and I prefer like a knight's move to make this a co. And this is also the open side, so it just feels a little bit more better direction. But if you wanted to pressure, then you apply maximum pressure. So the three options I'm looking at are A, B, and C, or D, C or D as one option. I really feel like the top left's unfinished, but I mean it's not like this gets nothing. It's not like it has no value. It's just not my preference. This is okay, I guess. This should be a mistake. The shape is either here or here. This is a common bad shape. The armpit. This is the internet kind of calls this the armpit hit. If this is the shoulder, this is the armpit, and armpits stink. So you don't want to do that because it just leads to like a double hane.
So what makes that an armpit is because I'm doing it from below.
Yes, because you can get surrounded and it leads to double hane. And the reason you could double hane is because 2-on-2 has bad liberties.
And that's a bad idea generally.
Right. So you would rather have it like here and then like that.
My thinking in doing that move was, they say extend from your wall one more space than the number of stones.
That is for thickness, not for weak groups. You're playing defense. You're not expanding a position.
I don't know the difference.
Okay. Thickness is controlling an area. It's not really something that could be attacked. This group, how many eyes does it have?
None.
Okay, and how close is it around Blackstones? And is it behind the line of influence?
I've never heard that term before.
Line of influence is basically where you draw a line of the area your opponent controls. So you like combine their stones. Like you could even draw a line like right here to if you really wanted to make a big global kind of thinking idea. So this would be a line of influence, this would be a line of influence, this would be a line of influence. It's just a line of that area, and everything past that line, if it's a single color, is controlled by that color. So this line is not technically a single color because of these, but it's more saying if these didn't exist, that would be where the line is, which means you're potentially able to get surrounded.
I see. Okay.
So that line represents your ability to more or less get surrounded. So if you do nothing, black can play here and then like right here, and you could see that you're actually getting surrounded very, very quickly. And if you play like right here, that's because the reason you're getting surrounded so fast is because you're so far behind that line. Does that make sense?
What would make those two stones thickness? Like, how would they be considered thickness instead of what they are? Each stone. How would they become thick?
If they were alive. Let's
So
even add like
by
one
that
more.
definition, thickness is only thickness when it's like guaranteed to be alive.
It's not necessarily guaranteed. It's more like you can't attack it in any good way. I mean, there's too many examples of thickness, so it's hard to like classify thickness as a specific shape or tactic, whatever. But I would say thickness is something that's strong, and a group that's eyeless is not strong. A group that's eyeless behind the line of influence next to your opponent, that's not strong. This one's even pincered. Or before all this, it was even pincered. So this I would say is thickness. At this point, I would be attacking, like here or here or something. I would attack with this because this is alive. It's not attackable. It's strong. It's so because it has eye space. There's no way that you can play any forcing moves on it. So that's strength. That's strong. That's what thickness is. Is more like it represents strength. But
Presumably, so thickness is something that's alive, and it has to be sort of facing something like out, like this corner over, like in the upper right. That couldn't be because it's like.
I would say thickness combines strength with height. So, like for example, A is strong because it has a lot of eye space. It's not really cuttable. It's connected, and there's not really hardly any forcing moves. But I wouldn't call it thickness because it's on the third line, so it's not very high. So I would say you want to combine strength with height. But there are like exceptions of like there are examples of thickness without a base. So for example, this would be considered thickness at the end of this. So this is considered thickness because it has an eye right here. It has eye shape on the left, on the bottom, or on the right on the bottom. There's no way this is going to die. So this you can consider this thickness. So because it's alive and it's high. However, we also have tactics to reduce the effectiveness of thickness. And if you get too many stones, like let's say white ignores too many times, I can actually reduce this. And now it's starting to look less like thickness and more like a weak group because you only have one eye, and this isn't you haven't made this eye yet. If you ignore more time, all of a sudden you're unsettled, and now it's starting to look a lot more like a weak group than thickness. And so thickness can become a weak group if it doesn't have eye space, but if it has to do with the forcing moves and the ability to be attacked. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes much more sense.
Okay, so just remember thickness is strength and height, and strength is more like forcing moves and lack of and having eyes, like lack of forcing moves, lack of or having eyes and not having forcing moves. I'm confusing myself. But strength is like eye space and solid connections. Not a lot of Aji, not a lot of forcing moves, has good eyes, that's strong. And then if you raise that strength and have it high, then it's thickness. So for example, I would not consider A thickness because A has no eye space. Right. It has no base. So if black gets a stone like here or something, I wouldn't consider that thickness. I wouldn't just go all out attacking these stones and capping and stuff because you're going to die. So you have to play defense tactics, which is you counterattack. So that's understanding the difference between something strong versus something weak.
I get it. Okay.
Cool. So this I would consider a weak group, and this is not a good shape for defending your weak group. But you still can defend. It's a little bit strange. So now let's go to this move. This move I think is also a little strange. So first off, going with the basics, do we have any weak groups? We have A that has no base, but you're kind of saying it has Miai of B and C, I guess. You can make that argument. So maybe you consider A not a weak group yet until black gets one more stone. It's an argument. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's an argument. Okay. So do you have any other weak groups? B is almost alive, not quite, but it's getting close. So maybe there's an argument for ignoring B. Okay, because it has some eye space, it has escape routes, it has a 3/3. Maybe. Then you look at your opponents. C is not quite alive, but it's about as strong as B, probably because it has it has a tiger's mouth, it has stuff right here, but you can bully it a little bit. Everything else everything on the left is pretty strong. D is pretty good because if you unsettle, the reason it goes on the fourth line is because if you unsettle, it can run very, very quickly. That's why it's on the fourth line. It's not a matter of getting a base; it's a matter of having escape routes. So going here, I don't think this is attacking. I don't think it's defending, and I don't think it's a big move. If you're attacking, well, did you unsettle your opponent? No, you actually helped your opponent make a base. Did you defend? Well, the corner wasn't that weak. If it was, then you should play something like that. Did you play big move? Well, big move is open corners, open sides, largest framework. So we're not at the open corners, we're not at the open sides, we're at the largest framework. So it's either going to be the top or the left. So it's not a big move either. So I think this is a little bit off the mark. I think it's just going to help black get strong. If I was black, I'd be happy to respond because you just fixed my weakness on the right. I'd be happy to get strength here. Black is attacking you pretty severely here, so this is now definitely getting a weak group. Okay. I'm afraid of running here because of my opponent getting a lot, but at the same time, I don't want to get surrounded. So it's kind of like if I play right here, I'm immediately alive, and you have one more forcing move. That's it. However, I would love to Tanuki if I could. So let's say, can I Tanuki? Boom. Okay, the question is, am I settled or am I not? So the poke and then poke. Maybe.
Oh, good.
What about the monkey jump?
Okay, monkey jump. I just go here.
No, that's isn't that's 3, right? That's it.
It's the kind of the same idea. No, it's not. Okay, so let's try the monkey. Doot, doot, doot. Doot, doot, doot.
Yeah, doesn't work.
Yeah.
I was thinking H1 and then G1, or yeah, and then G1.
Well, then I'm just alive. The whole question is, am I alive if I ignore?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. No, that's a good question. Like this is really important because in this idea, it's like okay, at single like at the Q level in general, you want to Tanuki as much as possible, right? But to do so, you have to ask yourself: can I be attacked? Will I die? Can it be cut? And if any of those questions are yes, you have to like defend yourself. But once they're no, you're like, okay, can I leave? Like so here, if you just run away and keep pushing from behind, like how much are you gonna run? How far will you go before you think you're alive? And then it's like, okay, but if you're alive right now, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just go attack, or you can go invade. If you're alive, you don't have to respond. What's the profit black will get? Well, if you get surrounded, it's usually bad. But in this case, it's just like one move at most. So maybe it's fine. It's just a judgment call. We're not pros, so we don't have to play perfect. It's just a matter of can I take Sentei, yes or no? Okay. And I'm thinking that you're already alive. You want to go to third. You want to go as high as you can. You want to be as high as you can. In shapes like this. So if you have the option of the second line or the third line, if you have multiple options, you want to pick the higher one. It's just usually better. You unsettled, but I think this one's unnecessary. There's already no more eyes on the side. So surround. There's already no more eyes. You can't be cut. Yeah, I think you're good. I think you're good. You're already fine.
This is a classic instance of knowing when to like shift my focus. You know what I mean? Like
it's more of what is your purpose of this move? Do you understand why do you pick this move? What is the goal? What do you want out of it?
Base from the side group.
Okay, so you're unsettling, right? You're taking the eye space.
Right.
Okay, what is a base? A base is efficient eye space. So once you do that, your job's done. Honestly, at this point, you would ask, can you make a base? So if I ignore right now, can you make a base? Boom, boom, boom. Arguably, this is not a base. This is inefficient eye space. So arguably, this is just eye space.
So a base is like 2 eyes, right?
No. Yes and no. A base is more efficient eye space.
I lost you there for a second.
There's 4 steps to defense. Step 1 is make a base. A base is efficient eye space. Like 1 stone jumps 2. That's 2 stones for 4 points. That's efficient. Okay. If you can't make efficient eye space, then you run away. That's step 2. Step 3 is eye space. So inefficient eye space comes after running away. And then step 4 is vital point. And that's what I teach my students. So yes, this is eye space, but it's not efficient. How many points is it? For this many stones, for like 4, 5, 6, 7, for 7 stones, it's got 1, 2, 3 points or so. And how do I know this? I can play right here. I can play right here. I can play right here. Are you gonna play right here? I can play right here. That's 3 points. So at best, you have 3 points of territory. That for that many stones, it's very inefficient. So usually it's hard to kill things. So usually you're happy with just surrounding. Like if I got this and you just lived, I wouldn't care. Yeah, maybe I could attack it better, but I wouldn't care. I'm happy with this. Black spent this many moves to get 2 points, and all of my moves are going to get more than 2 points. That is a profitable exchange rate for free because I still have Sentai. I can still go do something else. I'm happy with an attack like that. I don't care about killing my opponent. Killing my opponent usually is bad. Most of the time, you want your opponent to live small in Gote. That's usually the best result. Now, sometimes if they die, then yeah, just go ahead and kill them. But not always. So that's why step 2 comes before step 3. Step 2 is run away. Step 3 is inefficient eye space. So even here, I'm like, do I have to take this? Is this his base? I don't know. That's a judgment call, right? So you made the judgment that it was. I'm like, okay, this one, it's maybe we could fine tune it, but that's getting difficult. But this one is definitely not. This one becomes obviously inefficient. Sorry.
Just to say this in case like we're short on time or something, there is like one move towards the end of the game that I really want to review. So
okay, where is it?
Go back.
Okay, I'm assuming the center.
Yeah, it's the center move.
Okay. All right. So let me establish what's going on. So first off, A is alive. There might be a cutting point at B. So definitely check that, but I think it's okay. It looks okay. So maybe it's fine. This is a 4-space extension, so I'm still worried about the base of these 3 stones. This all looks perfectly fine. Now let's look at blacks. Black looks fine. Black looks fine. This is probably thickness because I think that's eye space right there, and I don't see a way for you to get in that deep. Black has a line of influence here and a line of influence here. No open corners, no open sides, no baseless groups. There's a loose connection right here, but so you might play defense, but if you haven't played it so far, maybe you just don't want to. That's fine. And then after this large framework, I think you're going to start Yosei. So I would say the big move is going to be largest framework. Okay. So you played this one, which is on the line of influence. So you're playing a reduction. That's fine. As long as you have an escape route, it is A-okay. The question is, can black play a forcing move right here and move that line to where you're behind the line? If he can, this is behind the line of influence because you have to take forcing moves into account. If you don't see that move, then you have to like ignore. However, there's also this line right here. So it's actually a little bit scary.
I wrestled with, what move to make at this point right now.
I think this is an easier one.
And I thought maybe I was a little behind. So
if you think you're behind, you want to increase the risk and reward ratio, but it's still going to be a risk. I would say the biggest thing here is to watch your escape routes. That's what you have to be really careful with, because this is the last section. Everything else is settled. So if you're going to play in this area, you want to go as deep as you can while watching your connections. That's the idea. That's the theory. So it's just a matter of identifying the move.
It didn't work.
Okay, so let's figure out why it didn't work. So you played this, you connected, that's fine. Stay connected, that's fine. He plays here, and you played here. This is already a bad shape. So when you're playing defense because you're running away to something that has a base. So running is defense. Defense, the most important thing to understand is movement while staying connected. I don't know. I'm busy. So defense is movement while staying connected. That is defense. Offense is applying the most pressure and power, but you don't worry about your connections as much. That's why Knight's moves are really good for offense and Hane's are good for offense, but maybe not so much for defense because Hane's and Knight's moves have cutting points. In attack and defense at the Q level, the most undervalued tactic is cutting. It's so severely underestimated. So when you say I'm going to run in this area that black controls with a Knight's move, my first instinct is, can I cut that? If I can cut this, you are so close to dead. You have no escape routes over here. It's so far away to get over here. And you're in so much trouble. So the first thing that I think about is, can I cut that Knight's move? If I control this area, I'm always going to check the cuts. It's a very, very important thing. So maybe a diagonal. It's a little bit slower, but it's more connected. Maybe a 1-point jump. Maybe a 1-point jump this way. Or maybe you're trying to sabaki. Maybe you're okay with giving up 1 stone as long as you maybe get out with the rest. Like as long as you break in with the rest, maybe you don't care about 1 stone. So maybe you sabaki with the 2 space. The idea is you understand the connection. That is the idea. And this move tells me that maybe you don't understand that running is about connections and movement. And so it looks like black immediately does cut you, and that's why you fell apart. And look at this. This is a Hane. Hanes are not connected. Boom. Instead of a Nobi. Nobi. Yeah, you don't get in as far, but you also don't die. Right? So I would say the mistake here is you ran away without watching the connections. It's very, very important to understand movement is about connections and cuts, at least at the basic level. And then it's just about like being clever with your connections at the higher levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so I would say the big thing to take from this is understanding thickness, bases, and connections with movement.